All right, guys. Hey, how you doing? So today what you are going to be doing is working with colored pencils. Some of you last week got the opportunity to play around with colored pencils on those coloring sheets, or some of you were just kind of practicing and playing around on the back of a blank sheet. Now, as you're working through today, last week we worked with watercolors, so if you didn't finish your color wheel, make sure you get that done. But if you are ready to go to the next step, what you're going to get after you watch this video are these three pencils. Now, I've got a roll of pencils that Mr. Eckfeldt has a hold of, so these lovely guys right here. There's all different yellows, blues, and reds in there, but they are all typically going to say either yellow or golden yellow, blue, and red. Now, as you're working, just like with your watercolor, you are going to have to be mixing your own paint. Or not your own paint, your own colors. So if you were starting out with red, what you would need to do is you need to go down here to the clear or empty color wheel and start coloring things in. Now, notice that I am not pushing really hard. I am holding my pencil back a little ways while shaking the table, of course, and placing color into this area. Now, if you guys are pushing really, really hard like that, you can do that for these primary colors. But as soon as you get to your secondaries and your tertiaries, that's when it's going to get a lot harder to mix colors. So what I suggest that you do is use the side of your pencil, fill those areas in as best you can. If they kind of go over the lines, that's not a big deal. As you're working with this amount of pressure, it will actually make it much more easy to overlap your values or your colors. Now, I'm doing the blue now so that we can get a purple in, because I'm just going to do this range of the color wheel so that you guys have more than enough time to work today. So I've got my blue in. If I don't like how light it is, I can always come back in with the point and fill it in just a little bit darker. Now, some of you are going to find that your pencils, when you go grab them from Mr. Eckfeldt, aren't going to be that sharp. Now, the way to work with these pencils is different from our regular graphite pencils. If you have one of those clear sharpeners, you're actually not going to use that for these pencils. Instead, what you're going to use is the sharpener at the back of the room underneath the paper towel dispenser. It's by the black cart, which has different slides and oil paint on top of it. So make sure that you go back there to get your pencils sharpened before you start working, because some of these, as you can see, especially on this yellow right here, is extremely dull. So you're going to want to make sure that you and your table partner have enough color to work with on your pencil. Now what I'm going to be doing is putting in my purple. So I'm going to start with my red, because that is my lighter value or lighter color. I'm going to use the side of the pencil and make this a little bit lighter than my red that's up in the primary. From here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over the top of it with my blue in a different direction. So as I was working with my red, I went from side to side, like left to right. On the blue, I'm going to rotate my page so that I can go left to right again, but if I was working this way, it would be up and down. So essentially, we're going to be cross-hatching our colors. Now, as you place this over the top, it's going to start to look a little bit more like a purple. If you need to place more blue or put a little more pressure on it, you definitely can do that. But on my end, this is starting to look a little bit more like a blue-purple. So if you need to add more red in, go right back in over some of the darker blue areas and fix it right up. So there we've got the purple. I'm going to do the same thing down here. So I'm going to place my red value first, or red color first. Put my blue on in there. Got to remember to rotate my page though, or rotate my hand. Go back over it a little bit. And then touch some of those blue areas back up a little. Now I've got my red blue, and my purple. From here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in my red violet and my blue violet. So I'm going to start with my red. Place that in, rotate the page, and very lightly put some blue in. And you guys see that this one's a little more red, red violet to purple. Now from here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to place in my blue. I'm going to start with my blue, and I'm going to make sure that my blue is just a little bit darker, so it's a more prominent hue. So placing in the blue. Then next I'm going to place in my red, and I'm going to do this one just a little bit lighter. Now you and your table partner aren't probably going to be working on the same side at the same time. So if one of you is using red, the other one's probably going to want to use yellow. And then if the next and then if you want to switch and use yellow and red, or go one person's using red, yellow, then red, blue, then blue, yellow, that'll make it a lot easier and much more quick to start developing. Now as you're working on this, it's going to actually develop into a color wheel. So you're going to be using color theory to mix your colors on your page. So what's going to happen now is I'm going to have a little time lapse that finishes up this color wheel. So as you guys finish up watching this, please make sure that you are watching how those colors are placed in there. So if you don't remember how green is made, just look at what two primaries it's between. Same thing goes for orange. All right, here we go. Now as I'm developing the blue, green, green, and yellow green, I start out with my blue colored pencil. Then I go over the top of it with yellow. I'm starting out with a very light value of blue, and then I darken it up as it gets closer to the blue-green. Go over it again and again, overlapping, so that way I can create different layers and different colors. As you finish up your color wheel, make sure that you look at it from a distance. Hold it at arm's length away and double check that your colors are all working together, that one doesn't look like the next. If you happen to have an accident happen, go ahead and recreate that color just outside of the color wheel, right next to where it should belong. Now, once this video ends, go ahead and get your materials from Mr. Eckfeldt. Send 2 people from each table group to go grab 6 pencils. 2 yellow, 2 red, and 2 blue. If you do have any issues with colors going to the wrong location, you can always use your white eraser to erase those. Since your name is already on this worksheet, don't worry about putting it on there again. I will be picking up this worksheet and your perspective next class. Once you finish your color wheel, make sure you work on your perspective if it needs more work, and if you're done with both of them, you can do one of those coloring sheets that's on my desk. Have fun, guys!